Hi guys, it's Jane, and today I'm going to be telling you my journey between poverty and fortune. Before I start, I just want to give a little background context. So after my time, you may have heard I taught at Lowood School for a few years. I moved on to a job at Thornfield Hall, and after that I moved away for circumstances that I will explain possibly in a future video. But I did move away with barely any money. I didn't have anything, and what I did have I used to get as far away as possible to a place called Whitcross. For those of you that have never seen my videos before, I have to explain that at this time there were no relations I had that I knew of. I lived with my aunt as a child because my uncle asked her to take care of me, but he passed away when I was very young, so all I had was my aunt and my 3 cousins. By this point, my aunt had passed away. She did tell me I had another uncle, but I had not written to him, and while he knew that I existed, he did not know where I was, and I had no way of contacting him at this time. As I had no money and no relations at this time, I really did have nothing to go off of. The first night that I arrived, I did have to sleep in the warmest, driest spot that I could find, which was next to a hill outside. That did take place for a few days, and I barely ate any food. I did try to buy some bread at a shop with my belongings, but of course those weren't taken. I don't blame them. I was just very desperate at this time for food. But eventually I came across a place where I thought I might be able to find shelter and solace. I came across a house, and inside I saw a candle, so I must admit I did look through the window and I observed 2 young ladies studying German at the time with their maid, and they were just sitting inside the home, and I thought it looked really cozy. I had never had personal experience with family before. As I said, I had no relations, and it just seemed so cozy. They were sisters, they had each other and their maid. So I went up to the door and I knocked, but the maid did not allow me to enter or ask about the mistresses because she feared that I would break into the house or cause them some sort of harm. I did stay by the door, however, and it appeared that they had a brother who arrived shortly after. His name was Mr. St. John. Mr. St. John came back home and he saw me and he allowed me to come in. He was a missionary and he felt that I deserved a chance to be allowed into their home. I was very grateful, and I lived with them for a little while until I could get back up on my feet. He gave me a job teaching some of the poorer children and gave me a cottage. I taught at the school for a while, and it turns out the uncle that I had previously mentioned had passed away. I had given the Reeds, which were the people that kindly took me in, I gave them a fake name before, and they figured out who I was because a certain Mr. Briggs was looking for me to inform me of my uncle's passing. And so when Mr. St. John heard about it, he came to me and told me. It turns out I had received a large fortune from my uncle that had passed. And it also turns out that the mistresses and Mr. St. John Reed were my distant cousins. So I did split the fortune between us because I do not know what I would do with such a fortune all to myself. And that was how I came back to being an individual and living on my own. I was very fortunate for experiencing this and being able to come back from it. I know that not everyone gets those opportunities, so I would just like to say I am grateful, and I understand that people do not usually get these opportunities. I do think that I suffered a lot in my childhood, however, and that trauma was rewarded somehow by all of these events occurring, and I am much better now. But this experience did teach me a lot. That is all for today. If you have any questions, maybe I'll do a Q&A sometime soon. You guys can ask me about my journey or other aspects of my life. But for now, I am going to sign off, and goodbye for now.